Hello, welcome to the Horror of It All movie podcast. I'm Eric. After a very, very, very long time, I am finally doing my top 10 favorite horror movies of the year 1988. Now, a little history for this ongoing video. I did a bunch of them from 1980 to 1987. They're all on my channel. Quality is not the greatest because it's before I really had anything to, good camera, microphone, all that stuff. Check those out. I still think they're fun if that's what you're into. I don't know how long it's been. It's been well over. It's probably been a couple years even. I don't know, but I'm finally doing it, and I really want to pick back up on the rankings because I have other ideas as well for like directors and stuff like that. So yeah. But I think I'm just going to dive right into it. Let me know in the comments after I'm done if you'd like, if there's anything that is one of your favorites that I may not have mentioned, or I did, whichever. So, my number 10 is a movie that I have been recommending for years. That's on my top 40 Vinegar Syndrome releases. It's just a movie that every time I watch it, I just love it more and more. This is a bit of an older release for them. I'm trying to see when it came out. 2018, so it's been 6 years. I'm talking about Grave Robbers. Now, Vinegar Syndrome put out 2 movies called Grave Robbers. A little while after this, there was a Spanish horror movie that was called Grave Robbers. This is not that. This is basically a very odd movie, a darkly humorous and vaguely supernatural story of necrophilia. Grave Robbers is a gruesome black comedy about the meaning of love and lust after death. It's basically about this woman that meets this guy, and he ends up bringing her to his morgue, and they're gonna get married and this and that. I think, I can't remember, but she's there anyway, and she's having trouble leaving and stuff. But she starts uncovering different secrets about what they're doing there and the fucked up shit that they're doing there. But I highly recommend this one. I know the slipcover's gone. I'm not sure if it's out of print or not, but if you hadn't, pick this one up. If it's still available, maybe you can get it on the halfway to Black Friday sale, or just pick it up now, whichever. Okay, so a little quick edit there. I wanted to double check. This is still available without the slip. It is not going out of print as of right now, but I love this movie, and it's my number 10 favorite horror movie of 1988. Number 9. Sometimes I like to show different versions of an older version of a movie, because this particular one at my number 9 spot, Severin put out. It has a bit of a history of Lucio Fulci started to direct it, and then he fell ill, and it was finished by Claudio Fragasso and Bruno Mattei, from what I understand. I believe Claudio Fragasso could be... Yes, he did the story and the screenplay with his wife, Rossella Drudy. I'm talking about Zombie 3, or as this UK version says, Zombie Flesh Eaters 2. There's a bit of a contrast there with all the parts and this and that, because in Italy, Zombie was Zombie 2. So how would this be Zombie Flesh Eaters 2? But in the UK, it was just Zombie like it was in America. It was Zombie Flesh Eaters, so this is Zombie Flesh Eaters 2. But if you really go with it, this would be Zombie 3, with the Italian titles. Anyway, I've always really liked this movie. I don't think it's as good as, say, Zombie, or even Dawn of the Dead, that was Zombie in Italy. But it's still a fun zombie movie to me. It's a bit out there. It's a bit of a mishmash because of all the different directors and things like that. But I think they brought it together very well. This is an old 88 Films version. You probably, if you do know, recognize that art. There's also that art. Like I said, Severin has put it out more recently as Zombie 3. But my number 9 spot Zombie Flesh Eaters 2, Zombie 3, etc., etc. But, and some people even have a problem with saying that it's a Lucio Fulci movie, but I do not. He directed a good portion, so yeah. So that's my number 9. All right, number 8 is I have it in a box set. I couldn't find an old DVD because I know I have it, but my number 8 is Phantasm 2. Now, this is also a UK version from Arrow of the Phantasm box set. There was a huge gap, almost 10 years, between Phantasm 1 and Phantasm 2. There's been mixed rights issues with it. This one has the sphere in it, as you can tell. I'll even take it out for you. Put the little things in there. But yeah, over time, sometimes it seemed like it was easier to get part 2. At the moment now, it seems like it's harder to get part 2 for like streaming and stuff. I don't know what the issue is. It must be just who owns it. I was going to get out. Here's the ball, the sphere. I remember seeing a Sean Clark video recently, and he showed all his spheres, and he didn't show this one, so I'm guessing he doesn't have it. I'm not sure, but they're also in CD cases. That's part 2. Not original artwork or anything, of course, but part 2 was definitely a little different. Just as weird. I think just as fun. I really like the Phantasms. This is the original art. I knew it'd be in there. Because a different actor played... The actor James LaGrosse played Mike in Phantasm 2. And if you're familiar with Phantasm 2, they're really kind of hard to explain. It's just better to see them. But I love the Phantasm movies. All pretty well close. So yeah, it's a great box set. Phantasm 2, a lot of fun. It definitely threw me off growing up because the guy who played Michael Baldwin, who played Mike in the first one, and the rest of them, I think he's in the 5th one, just didn't do it for whatever reason, so you got a different actor. That artwork also has been recycled on some Italian movie. Can't remember what it was, but I remember seeing it and I'm like, that's Phantasm 2. But if you're familiar with it, with the tall man, Phantasm 2 amped it up a bit. Of course, better effects by 1988, and the ball is back. Yeah. I haven't said anything about it. It's hard to explain, but Phantasm 2 is my number 8 of my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1988. My number 7 is a household favorite in my house. It's also one of my son's favorite movies of all time. Just a fun little PG-13 horror, but very, very popular. I'm talking about Killer Clowns from Outer Space. What can be said about Killer Clowns from Outer Space? It's basically killer clowns from outer space that come to Earth and kill people, and they wrap them in cotton candy, and and kill them. There's a few different ones. This is the original artwork. I have the Arrow version. Scream Factory is putting out a 4K that's coming out soon. I don't know if it has any of its own special features or whatever, because I have the Arrow one. But yeah, again, it's Killer Clowns from Outer Space. There's not much that I can say. If you're not familiar with it, it's basically what I said. But yeah, that is my number 7. My number 6 is quite possibly, other than The Thing, my favorite remake of all time. And I'm talking about 1988's The Blob. Loved this movie growing up. Just loved it more and more as I got older. This is the Scream Factory edition. The Blob is back in this horrific tale about vile, malignant life form that crashes to Earth in a cozy rural American town called Aberville. Untroubled by the intellect, the Blob does only one thing and it does it well. It eats anything and everything that moves, men, women, and children, and audience members. Tonight, it wants to swallow the town. The original Blob was thrilled to terrify audiences in the 50s. Now, the oozing, gooey killer is back with a whole new high-tech look. And The Fly also is a great, another one of my absolute favorite remakes from the 50s, which I actually just met Gina Davis. I know you probably can't see that. She's also with Susan Sarandon in that picture. She signed my Fly box set, so that was pretty cool, and she was a dream to meet. I love Gina Davis. Anyway, this is not The Fly. This is The Blob. But yeah, that is my number. Where am I already? Number 6. Already halfway, and then I got some honorable mentions. But 1988 was definitely a year. A lot of my picks are going to be, kind of well-known horror, I believe, or at least you've heard of it anyway. But The Blob. Number 5, halfway here. I think an underrated horror movie. The first time I saw it, it was genuinely terrifying, and it still is. I'm talking about American Gothic. For the longest time, it was hard to get. I have a UK DVD that I finally settled on. Before, a little while later, Scream Factory put this out. There's not much on it. There's just an interview with the composer, but when 6 young friends fly off for the weekend getaway, suddenly find themselves with engine trouble. They have no choice but to land on a remote Pacific island. Looking for shelter, they are grateful when they meet Ma and Pa and their children. An eccentric family living in the backwoods as if it was the 1920s. But it begins simple, old-school hospitality, becomes a terrifying race for survival when one by one the friends start disappearing and dying horrible deaths. This is one of those movies where it still gets me with that trapped feeling, like you can't leave. That's one of the scariest things to me. One of, not the most. I don't know what my most, maybe death, but that you can't leave, and there's no way for them to leave, and they're super religious, so any little thing is whatever. But I always find it funny with movies like this. If you're super religious and you forget the first commandment, thou shalt not kill, granted that's Catholic, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty universal with the religions. I'm not sure, I don't get into that, but it should be a big one. But that's what they're doing, so it's just one of those. The family that stays together. Well, that's what this is. And it's really weird because their kids are older, and the little girl is obviously in her 30s or something, maybe even older. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, American Gothic is definitely a terrifying experience to me personally. The more I watch it, the less it is, but yeah, so American Gothic, I highly recommend it. If you haven't seen this or whatever, definitely check it out. I don't know if this one's out of print or not, but there isn't a lot of versions of this movie, so American Gothic. Alright, number 4. A couple of the next ones, I have box sets. I didn't want to dig out old DVDs or whatever. So, there's no art here. But my number 4 is where it started all with Chucky, Child's Play, the first one. Which, ironically, also, I met Catherine Hicks, who played Andy's mom in the first one, also at 90s Con, when I met Gina Davis, as well as many other people. She signed 8x10 that I already had signed by Chris Sarandon. And there's a whole backstory thing that I didn't know with Susan Sarandon and Chris Sarandon. I always want to say it another way. I don't know why. But I already had an 8x10 of him signing it, so I had Catherine Hicks signed it, and Andy's in the picture too, so next time I meet Alex Vincent, I'll have him sign it. But again, it's another one. What can you say about Child's Play? If you don't know, it's about a boy named Andy, and he gets a good guy doll for his birthday that he really wanted. It's the one thing that he wanted. Unfortunately, this particular doll that he got was, because they're so hard to get, was bought by a peddler or a homeless guy. I don't know why I would call it that. But basically, and he got it out of a burnt out store who Chris Sarandon's character just shot Charles Lee Ray, and the store caught on fire, but before he died, he put his soul into the doll of the good guy doll, which turned into Chucky. And madness ensues from there. I've never been scared of dolls, so to speak. My wife has, but I love Chucky. The show is amazing. Still going to this day. Thankfully, Don Mancini, still owns Chucky, so that's good. He doesn't own the name Child's Play, but what are you going to do? I love all of these that are on. This is a box set that has up to Curse. There's also Cult of Chucky, which came out after this, and I have it separate because I already had these on like this. I have old DVDs, of course, too. But I love Chucky, and I think the show is amazing, and I think they're keeping it going pretty great. If I had to pick a favorite, it's actually probably not the first one. It would be Child's Play 2. But that is not 1988. So, yeah. So my number... Where are we at here? I don't know how I forget these things. My number 4 is Child's Play from 1988. Number 3, and may surprise some people that have seen the other ones, may it be recent, may it be a while ago. People know how much I love Jason. He is my favorite slasher, but this time, this is tricky too, because I really like this one. My number 3, not number 1, is Friday the 13th, Part 7. It is the beginning of Kane Hodder's Jason. I know a lot of people go back and forth with that. I love Kane. I've met him. I'm in the teens now. How many times I met him? He's so great. Last year, I brought my youngest to a convention that he would remember because we actually brought him when he was a baby, and he met Kane Hodder, and he had this thing about giving the finger. And we have a picture of that. And some people it might not like this. Fast forward a little. It's just a joke. It doesn't bother me as a parent. It doesn't bother my wife. We think it's kind of cute and funny. So he gave him the finger. So Kane said, can I give him the finger? And he took a picture. It was funny. Fast forward 10 years later, they recreated that picture, and it is so adorable. Anyway, Part 7. The first one that Kane Hodder is on, as I said, this one is directed by John Carl Buechler. The most rotted Jason, I guess you would say. Definitely a lot of makeup in this one for him. Some people call it like Carrie meets Jason because the girl has like telekinetic powers. I love this one. I love all the Friday the 13th. I have a podcast with my wife on this very channel that we rank our order of Friday the 13th. And they're not quite as close as you would expect. But this is definitely one of her favorites. It might be her favorite. I can't remember, actually. It's been a little bit. Definitely one of her top favorites. I love Part 7. I can't believe it's only number 3. But my number 1 and 2 is just... 88 was a hard year. But still, favorite slasher, Jason. But this is definitely a good one, in my opinion. And this is from the box set. This has an infamous axe throw that Kane has used for many years as one of his 8x10s. But yeah, it's a slasher movie. It's a Jason movie. You know what you're getting into. Although this one has a girl that gives him a run for his money, so to speak, with her powers. So Friday the 13th, Part 7, A New Blood is my number 3 favorite horror movie of 1988. My number 2, and then before I say 1, I'll go through my honorable mentions. Again, I just had a box set handy. I could have grabbed the DVD box set because you can see the cover a little bit better. But my number 2 is another infamous slasher, and it's Freddy. I'm talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, Dream Master. This is just the Blu-ray box set. Part 4 and Part 3 are probably it's hard because I am a huge defender and fan of Freddy's Dead. I just am. I've always liked to have the poster above my bed. For the longest time, I didn't because it got destroyed, but I have it again. Anyway, I always end up getting on a tangent about another one. Part 4, Dream Master. Part 4, Dream Master is proving there's no rest for the wicked. The unspeakably evil Freddy Krueger is again resurrected from the grave to wreak havoc upon those who dared to dream. But this time, he faces a powerful new adversary. As her friends succumb one by one to Freddy's wrath, telekinetically gifted Kristen, which ironically never thought about that with Friday 7. It has a similar thing because of that. Telepathically, not telekinetic. Telepathically gifted Kristen embarks on a desperate mission to destroy the satanic Dream Stalker and release the tortured souls of the victims once and for all. Directed by Rennie Harlin, who did a lot of action movies. I just rediscovered, I think that is... Yeah, sorry. He did, like, Die Hard 2 and Cliffhanger, but Long Kiss Goodnight I just rediscovered because I was rewatching a bunch of Gina Davis movies, and that movie is so great. But yeah, Part 4 of Nightmare on Elm Street is up there for me. Again, I did read the synopsis on the case, but you know what you're getting into. It's Freddy. He's definitely a jokester at this point, but I love Part 4 a lot. I think between 3 and Freddy's Dead, around there, I know some people will be like, what? No, not Part 1? I'm not that guy that I have to be. It has to be Part 1 because it's Part 1. That's not me. But don't let that bother you. These are just my opinion. You do you. Yeah, I love Part 4. And I love even Part 5, too, because you have the same characters, some of the same characters that survive through to Part 5 from Part 4. So, yeah. My number 2 is Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 4, Dream Master. Alright, so now I've come to the recommendations one, or the honorable mentions, I should say. I'm just going to cruise through these. I don't know how well this will pick it up. I can't remember because I have shown it on here before when I bought it. This is a more recent one that I got from Vinegar Syndrome last year. Rabid Grannies. I think it was last year. It might have been this year. I don't remember. Anyway, that's not important. But this is a more recent watch that didn't end up on the list, but it's close. It's a really weird, fucked up story about these grannies that get rabid and they want to eat their family. Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's a lot of fun, but that is my first honorable mention. I did want to mention, while I think about it, I'm just going to be able to show you a picture. Sorry, it's not the greatest picture, but this one is probably close at almost at maybe 11, or if I made a top 20, it'd be at least in 15. But I don't have a good release of this. I have it on a pack somewhere. It really would be nice to have a good release of this. But talking about Grotesque, which is a Linda Blair movie that I really was kind of blown away by. I thought it was pretty great. I can even look it up real quick for you. This is a little quick one. A young woman's plastic surgeon uncle avenges their family from family's massacre by punks. Leave it to Google to have that. A gang of crazed punks break into the family's vacation home in the mountains and slaughters the entire family except one daughter who gets away. That's kind of it too, but that kind of gives away a lot too. So anyway, Grotesque. I highly recommend that one. I think it's pretty great. Another one that was on my top 40 Vinegar Syndrome releases that I absolutely love, and it's one of the most watched of my Vinegar Syndromes, is Pledge Night. It's part sorority party movie. Like there's initiations. This is a good way. A truly one-of-a-kind blending of post-Animal House, TNA sex comedy, and a gore-filled supernatural slasher. That is exactly what it is. Almost 50-50. It's like two different movies, but Pledge Night is a lot of fun. Another one that was hard to not get in my top 10, and I know some of my choices may be like, well, why would you do that instead of this? It's my list, you know? But Sleepaway Camp 2. I like Sleepaway Camp 2 more than 1. I'm sorry. Another one. I know people are going to think, oh, he must be that guy that likes sequels more. I am the sequel guy, I will say that. But it's not always the case. But Sleepaway Camp 2 is pretty great. Basically, it's 5 years after the horrific slaughter at Camp Arawak. I can't remember how to pronounce it. And Angela is now a counselor, and she just starts slaughtering everybody. It's a fun movie. It's tongue-in-cheek. It's super pitch black dark comedy, black comedy, but so much fun. Sleepaway Camp 2. Had to get a Jess Franco in there. First time watch from Severin on 4K. Loved this fucking movie to pieces. The song will get stuck in your head for days. I'm talking about Jess Franco's Faceless. Very, very good. Extremely gory with an amazing cast. It suggests one of the Dr. Orloff films from Franco's heyday, resurrected by way of Lucio Fulci. Very great way to say what this movie is, because I agree. But this might be my favorite Jess Franco movie that I've seen. There's just so many. I am one that has an ever-growing collection. I know some might be like, that's it, because he has so many movies. But I think I have about 100 now, roughly. But I love Faceless. Another one that I just have it in a box. I could have got an old DVD. Didn't want to dig through the DVDs. And I know some people are like, that's not in there, holy shit. But again, you put it in yours. That's cool. I'm still mentioning it. This is the Scarlet Box from Hellraiser, but I'm talking about Hellraiser 2. I love Hellraiser 2. I love the levels of hell in it. It's a very dreamlike, horrific movie, and I love Hellraiser 2, or Hellbound Hellraiser 2. And a couple more here. Got to have some Frank Henlotter in there. Just saw this a little while ago with Joe Bob. Had a blast. Brain Damage. It's basically about this little guy named Elmer that hooks into his brain and is like a drug, and it basically he makes him kill people. But yeah, it's Brain Damage. There he is right there, and he kind of talks like this, and it's a little cute and blah blah blah. But he's actually really a drug that gets right into his fucking brain, and yeah. Brain Damage, Frank Henlotter. If you've seen any Frank Henlotter movie and haven't seen Brain Damage, you got to do it. Of Basket Case fame, and well, all the Basket Cases, of course, and Frankenhooker, and just he has a lot of great stuff. Unfortunately, he didn't make that many movies, but we cherish the ones that we have. All right, two more here. One that I have to give a thanks to my buddy Brian. He turned me on to this movie because he couldn't think of it for years and years what the hell it was called, but he thinks it was called The Brain. And then I looked it up. I found a UK disc, and that's all I could find. There was a double feature with a movie called like something Point. I don't remember, something Point. But I'm talking about The Brain. Lots of fun. Another one Joe Bob showed some season recently. I don't know. Time's a blur. But it's basically about this giant killer fucking brain. It's a monster. It's hilarious, and it's great, and it's amazing, and I thank him all the time. So whenever there's a release, which hasn't really been many, there's been this one, that DVD I found, and 101 Films put it out, which is basically exactly the same as this, same transfer and everything. But it was cool because it came with a book, and it's like the packaging's a little cooler. And my last honorable mention is the movie Ghost House. It's basically, I don't even remember what the fuck it's about. The tour of terror begins with Ghost House, in which a group A group of visitors in seemingly desolate home find themselves tormented by demonic spirits, including one particularly freaky little girl and her creepy clown doll that makes this weird noise that actually gets stuck in my head. I can't even do it. It's basically something like that. Very fucking creepy Italian movie, but I really like it. Witchery, on the other hand, is also from 1988, which I didn't know, so hell, I recommend that too. Fuck it. I even rebought this when it got put out again. I'm not sure about Ghost House, if there's another one. I hadn't got it. Witchery, then a new addresses brings new... I don't understand the wording. Immortal David Hasselhoff and exorcist Linda Blair turn up the terror in Witchery. When a terrible storm leaves motley assortment of people stranded on an island resort, they soon find they have more to worry about than not picking rain gear. A horrible witch unleashes her wrath on the unwanted visitors, and no one is safe from the unquenchable thirst for death. I like Ghost House way more than I like Witchery, but both, I think, worth your time. I just love Italian movies, so yeah. All right, my number one, which some may know what's coming, some may not. Like I said, this one on previous years some are a good mix of like little lesser known and more well-known movies. This one has a lot of more well-known movies, at least in my top 10. But my number one may be crazy to some, but it's Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. I grew up with this. I know a lot of people say that. The ending gets me every fucking time. It is such a great ending. But other than that, it's a Michael Myers slasher movie, and he's back, you know? I, however, am one of the fans of... I do love Part 3. Growing up, I had that stupid mentality of Michael's not in it, and a lot of people still have it, and you do you. If you don't want to watch it, that's cool. I really love the movie personally, but anyway, I'm not talking about that. I just meant because this is the return of Michael Myers. Definitely in my top favorite ones from the Halloween franchise. I love the Halloween franchise, even though it gets confusing for some because there's multiple timelines, but I completely understand the timelines. Sometimes I watch them as a timeline, but Halloween 4 is at the tippy top for me. Sometime I got to do a ranking of Halloween movies, but this is my absolute number one of 1988. I rewatch it every year, sometimes more than once, not always even at Halloween, but this was also the movie that introduced me to Jamie, who was played by Danielle Harris, who is still doing movies. She is big in the Halloween franchise. She even was in the remake as a different character, but and she's done a ton of other horror movies and stuff like that. So, it's Halloween 4. If you know horror, you know this. Better or for worse, whatever you like. But my number one is definitely Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. I adore this movie. Yeah. So anyway, finally, that was my top 10 favorite horror movies of 1988. Please check out my other top rankings of every other year in 1988. And I will be now doing 1989 way sooner than later because it has taken me a while. I don't even want to say how long. But I will try to remember at the end, as I usually do, to put a link here somewhere. I'm trying to remember time frame and everything to kind of stamp it when I'm putting the video, all setting it and uploading it for the folder that has all the rest in it. As I said earlier in the video, the quality isn't the greatest, but you can still hear it. It's better than VHS. Let's put it that way. So it's not that bad. And I'm not taking anything away from VHS. I don't want the VHS haters or anything. I still watch VHS and I still have VHS tapes, so I get it. But you get what I'm saying for the quality and everything, for picture and everything. But anyway, Thanks for watching this. If you got to the end, I really appreciate it. Give it a like and a subscribe if you haven't. Comment below some of your favorites that I may or may not have mentioned. But yeah, be on the lookout for more stuff. I do a lot of Vinegar Syndrome stuff. I'm going to try to be picking up speed on these rankings because I have a lot of fun with them. It's just a lot of work getting it all figured out and making the lists and stuff. So yeah, so this has been the Horror of It All movie podcast. I hope you had fun with this. I'm Eric. Until next time.